What's up, everybody? So here live on Don Mattingly Drive, doing a video response to Card Hound, who's one of my favorite YouTubers, and he basically is doing a giveaway and asking, number one, who's your favorite team, which obviously it's the Yankees. And then he wanted to do a top five, your cards, memorabilia of your favorite team. And of course, I had to do a top 10. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do my top 10 favorite Yankees of all time and then my favorite piece from each one of those players. So let's go ahead and get started. So first off, I wanted to mention this guy, Clint Frazier, as an honorable mention. This guy represents, for me, the youth movement that started probably 2 or 3 years ago. The Yankees acquired him about a year and a half ago with the Andrew Miller trade. And love Clint Frazier. I love his attitude. He kind of reminds me of Paul O'Neill a little bit, like the kind of guy that'll run into a wall to catch a fly ball and then be mad at the wall. Which is, you'll see Paul O'Neill later on this list. I've been on pins and needles all winter long, worried that the Yankees are going to trade this guy away. Now with Giancarlo Stanton on the team, what is he, like the sixth outfielder? So something's got to give. I'd say it's a 50-50 chance that he stays with the Yankees, but I do love this guy. I love his attitude, and just wanted to list him as an honorable mention. And obviously, this is an awesome card to have if you're a Clint Frazier fan. So at number 10 is this Mickey Mantle. Mickey Mantle, obviously, I'd never seen him play, but he, believe it or not, he's the first baseball player that I've ever met in person. Was at a show in the late 80s, back when baseball card shows were huge. And I think I stood in line for like 2 hours to meet Mickey Mantle, a guy that obviously I'd never seen play. And I remember just being like, why am I waiting in line to meet this guy? But I remember when I met him, I was in awe and shook his hand. And since then, obviously, I've gotten all kinds of Mickey Mantle baseball cards. I'm after the 51 Bowman rookie. And just an awesome piece of memorabilia, especially because I met him and had him sign this picture for me. And so there's number 10. So at number 9, I felt like I had to include Babe Ruth in my top 10 favorite Yankees of all time. Obviously, I don't have any direct connection to Babe Ruth, but he is literally the greatest Yankee of all time. He's the greatest baseball player of all time. And these are two of my favorite pieces that I own, so I felt like I needed to include the Babe. And so there you have it, two beautiful pieces, and number 9 in terms of my favorite Yankees of all time. So at number 8, All Rise, Aaron Judge. He, without a doubt, is my favorite current Yankee, and this is my favorite piece that I have of Aaron Judge. Bowman Sterling, PSA 10. I'm a huge fan of the Bowman Sterling cards. I used to they discontinued it. You used to get 3 autographs in every pack. You get 18 autographs in a box. This, without a doubt, is my favorite Aaron Judge card. Dude, obviously, he had 52 home runs last year and is just such a humble guy, and then goes all out, too, which is amazing. There's been a couple of plays where he jumped into the stands, like I mentioned about Clint Frazier, is willing to, put it all out there. So, love Aaron Judge. Right now, he's already climbing up my favorite Yankees of all time at number 8. So at number 7 is this guy, Phil Rizzuto. Obviously, I never saw him play, but I spent my childhood listening to this guy on the radio. I used to love him because he would just go totally rogue and just start talking about something that had nothing to do with baseball, telling you about one of his stories of, when he was a baseball player or something that had nothing to do with baseball. Loved listening to him. There's nobody since that has been even close in terms of announcers that I've loved as much as I loved him. And also, obviously, this Phil Rizzuto autograph is my favorite piece of his. So at number 6 is this guy, Joe DiMaggio. I don't know what it is, 56-game hitting streak, which is one of the greatest hitting streaks of all time. Maybe because he's a fellow Paisan. I don't know what it is. but I've always loved Joe DiMaggio. My two favorite pieces are sort of a tie between the 1939 play ball DiMaggio, which sort of got me into high-end collecting of baseball cards again, and this right here, which is a picture of me as a kid. And then on the back is an autograph of Joe DiMaggio. So my dad met him, obviously interrupted him in the middle of dinner. He signed this, and then another autograph, which is on an index card, which is currently with PSA, which they still haven't logged it into their system, which is making me nervous. But I'm sure, PSA is just really slow about everything they do. But anyway, DiMaggio at number 6. At number 5, my 5th favorite Yankee of all time is the great Mariano Rivera. And this is really when you start to get into my favorite Yankees of all time. A couple of years ago, I read this book. It's called The Closer by Mariano Rivera and Wayne Coffey. Mariano has such a fascinating history. If you read about him, at the age of 19 years old, he was a failed fisherman and was literally jumping off a capsized fishing boat in Panama. You can imagine, and he hadn't even thought about baseball. And then at the age of 20, started playing baseball, was a shortstop initially, and they were in a playoff game, and the pitcher was doing so poorly that they brought in Mariano Rivera to pitch. He pitched really well, but he obviously needed a lot of work still, and somebody ended up seeing a Yankee scout saw him, brought him over from Panama to the United States, had never left the country, didn't know a word of English. This is such a and he actually in this book, he talks a lot about growing up in living in Panama, what it was like to come over from the United States, and then of course, when he came to the Yankees, he wasn't successful at first. He was a starting pitcher. He was going back and forth between the minor leagues and in professional baseball, and was connected to Ruben Rivera, who was a much more highly touted prospect in the beginning. And I like to look at this card too, because I look at this. This picture is probably taken in 1991. When he had just come over from Panama. Again, didn't know any English at the time. And so I highly recommend reading that book. And then my favorite piece of Mariano Rivera, and this is just a picture that I have of him, game over. But obviously my favorite piece of him is this Mariano Rivera signed bat. Beautiful, beautiful bat, Steiner Sports, Louisville Slugger. And then, of course, on the back, I had it 642 of 652, obviously his number 42, so I tried to get 42 was obviously taken already, so I went with 642, but just a beautiful, beautiful Mariano Rivera signature. So my 4th favorite Yankee ever is the great Derek Jeter, the captain, Mr. November. And I explained this in previous videos, but this is the ticket of the last Derek Jeter's last game at Yankee Stadium, where I'm sure if you watch baseball, you know that he hit that base hit to right field, and the Yankees beat the Baltimore Orioles in the bottom of the 9th. And I remember going to this game, and it was raining out. It was a horrible day outside, and all of a sudden, of course, the skies cleared, and then of course, the Yankees were up by 2 runs, and the Orioles tied it up, and Gardner, I forget if he walked or singled, and then there was a man on second base, and of course he had the winning hit, and such an amazing game. And you can see here I had fantastic seats, Field MVP Club, row 17. These seats normally go for $235 a piece, and was just an unbelievable game to be at. And of course, also, my favorite piece is got to be the Superfractor that I picked up actually a couple weeks ago. 1 of 1. And there you have it. My 4th favorite Yankee ever, Mr. Derek Jeter. At number 3 is this guy, David Wells. I never saw it coming. Hungover and queasy and desperately sleep deprived, I was blind to my own unbelievable luck. Out there in the pen with my mindset on merely surviving this start, I was completely missing the bigger picture. Bigger movement, heightened velocity on an extra sharp last-second pop. Who cares if my stuff's weird this morning? These abnormalities kick ass. Mel praises my warm-up all the way back to the clubhouse, where 10 minutes later, with Metallica blaring and the caffeine and aspirin now coursing through me at full throttle, I'm bouncing off the walls, 180 degrees removed from my early morning stupor. I'm more than ready to take on the Twins. So that was right before this happened, or I should say this happened. Being Perfect, New York Post, the game that I was at. This was, you can see the date here, Sunday, May 17, 1998. These are 2 tickets that were unsigned by David Wells. And again, there's another autograph by David Wells. And these were 2 tickets that we didn't use. There were 2 tickets that we did use. And I was lucky enough to be 2 of the fans that were there at the time. And what an amazing game to be at. Perfect game by David Wells. And that is the reason why he's my 3rd favorite Yankee of all time. My 2nd favorite player of all time, and no, that is not a bobblehead of me. That is a bobblehead of the great Paul O'Neill. And it's funny because probably the best piece that I own of Paul O'Neill is this 86 Donruss rated rookie. So it's kind of like, oh, maybe I need to pick up a nicer piece of Paul O'Neill. But I loved Paul O'Neill from the time. I think I fell in love with him when he was on the Reds. And I'm sure everyone has seen it where the guy hits a ball to right, and Paul O'Neill, for whatever reason, starts bobbling the ball, and he gets so frustrated that he literally kicks the ball into the infield, and is one of the greatest kicks I've ever seen someone, well, I mean, especially to kick a baseball into the infield. And the guy was about to round third and come home, but it was such a nice kick to the infield that the guy had to stop at third. And there was another home run when he was with the Yankees. I don't know if I'll be able to find the video of it, but he hits a home run. And at first he thinks he hit a foul ball, so he kind of like throws the bat down in disgust, only to find out that he hit a home run. I just loved, like, he was just such a warrior, you know, like he was every day, you know, he would go into, like, there's video of him going into right field and, you know, pretending like he's trying to get his swing down, and he's doing it over and over and over again. And, you know, he had a temper, but he was always mad at himself. He was never like, rarely did I see him get mad at other people. He was just always mad at himself. And I guess I sort of related to that, you know, in some way. And, but anyway, loved Paulie. I loved, you know, the way he played the game. And that is why he's number 2 on my list. And of course, at number 1 is Donnie Baseball. I'm sure to nobody's surprise, Don Mattingly, without a doubt, my favorite player of all time. I'm not going to go on and on about him. I've already done that in a previous video. If you guys want to check out my tribute to Don Mattingly, maybe I'll put a link to it in this. But my favorite Yankee, favorite player of all time, whatever, is without a doubt Don Mattingly. And of course, these are my 2 favorite pieces that I own, the 81 Nashville Sounds in a PSA 10 and the 84 Donruss Don Mattingly in a PSA 10. And, you know, just growing up in the 80s, you know, as a kid, he's the reason why I fell in love with baseball. I appreciate his work ethic. I appreciate his ability to continue to strive for excellence. And so there you have it, man. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. Again, props to Card Hound on his giveaway. And what are we, 10 days away from pitchers and catchers? So I can't wait for the season to get started. We got Bird, we got Sanchez, we got Giancarlo, we got Judge, and on and on and on and on. So I can't wait for the season to start. If you're a Yankee fan, there's a lot to be excited about. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Like I said, check out Card Hound if you haven't already, and I'll talk to you later. Peace!